Hi everybody, today we're going to make a minion or start making a minion. We're not doing the whole project today. So if you go into your assignment, I just named mine Minion Starter, and then you have the instruction pack. So I'm going to show you how to make this. And the first thing is you go to your instructions and you see that we're using the hull block, the set operations hull. And you're going to start with the bottom of the body. And take a look at the shape. What shape do you think you would use? I used a sphere. And there is a hint here. It says, remember, all blocks in the whole block will be the same color. So I'm going to start with the bottom. And I'm not going to hull it. And then it says, make the legs last. So those are some hints. So I'm going to go into BlocksCAD. And I'm just going to make a sphere. And I'm going to hit render. And I can see half of it's underground. So I'm going to need to lift that up. In order to do that, I'm going to get a translate. And I'm going to translate it along the Z. Now the radius is 10. So that's from the middle of the sphere to the bottom. I do not want the sphere touching the bottom because I need room for my legs. So I'm going to put it up 25 and then render it. A little high. I don't think my legs need to be that high. So I'm going to move it to 15 and see if I like that. That's much better. The other thing I could do is make my sphere a little smaller if I wanted to. I will keep it this size for this example. And I noticed that his pants, so now the bottom are pants of the minion, they're blue. So I'm going to go to Transforms and get a color block and make it blue. And let's see. Now I'm going to label this. So if you double click on the color block, a label will come up, and I'm going to say bottom of body. You could also call it pants. And then I'm going to hit the question mark and collapse this because this looks good right now. So I'm going to just put it aside. It's very good to have your code organized. The next thing I'm going to do is make the middle of the body. And that to me, let's go back to the instructions. This part looks like a cylinder. And if you look at it, I'm going to have the cylinder cover part of my sphere, and I'm going to have it taller than my sphere. So I'm going to get a cylinder. Now my radius 1 and 2 are going to be the same as the radius of the sphere because I want it to be the same size. So I'm going to render it and say, all right, so the width is good. Obviously I need the height bigger. So I'm going to take the height of 25. It might be a little too big, but I do need to move it up. So I need to get a transform and a translate in the transform. And I'm going to take this Z and move the Z up 25 because I want it above my pants. Now, as you can see, that's too high. So I will take it down to 15. I want it to cover about half of the pants. Oh, perfect. Covers half of the pants. I do think it's a little too tall, though. So I'm going to take the height and bring it down to 20. Now, this is the height of my cylinder, not the Z. Much better. Now, the other problem I have is the color. I want it to be yellow, but I'm going to change that later because now I want to hull the top with this. So in setups, I'm going to get the hull. Actually, you can make this without the hull, but I'm going to put this in the top because I made this first. So now I need a sphere, and I'm going to hull it with the sphere. Now, as you can see, the sphere is the wrong way. It's showing the bottom underground. I want it to be on top. I do not need to rotate it, but I do need to translate it. So I'm going to translate my sphere. Oh, where'd that go? There it is. And I'm going to translate it up 25 because I'm going to take the 15 and I'm going to add 10 to it of the radius. And I'm going to say not high enough. I'm going to take it 35. Ooh, perfect. I actually don't need to hull it, but since we are using the hull block, I will hull those two together. And that will keep them together. Now I'm going to make it yellow. I want my minion to be yellow. And now I will render this. And that looks good. I actually think I want it a little shorter. And you know the minions come in different sizes. So I'm going to take my cylinder down to about 8. And, oh, that was the radius of 8. I didn't want to change the radius. I wanted to change the height. So I'm going to get a little more room here. I'm going to take my height to 18. And that just goes to show you there's a lot of trial and error involved. And if you make a mistake, you just redo it. All right, looks much better. Remember to frequently save. The next thing we need to do are the legs. Oh, I'm going to compress this code though. So I'm going to double click. I'm going to add a comment. And I'm going to call this head and body. Close it, collapse it, and put it up here, out of the way. So the legs are going to be, oh, not cubes, cylinders. Thin cylinders. So I'm going to start with a cylinder of 2. And I'm going to see what that looks like. Oh, and I really like the width. The height is a little too high, which doesn't matter because it's up inside. It might matter later, but I can keep it. And then because as I zoom in, you can see, well, I want my minion to have 2 legs, so I'm going to move this one slightly to the left, and then I'm going to duplicate it and make one slightly to the right. Now, if I go to the left, I have a dotted line, and it's the red line, so it's the x-axis. So I want to move it, I've got to translate, along the x-axis, negative. So I'm going to try -2 because it's not going to move a lot. Maybe I'll try -3. See how that looks. Perfect. Yeah, I could maybe even go 4, but I think that looks good. Now I am going to duplicate this. So if you 2-finger tap, you can duplicate. And this one, I'm going to move to the right side, which is where the positive x is. So I'm going to go to a +3. And now I have 2 legs. And if I zoom out, it looks good. The one thing I need to change is the color. So I'm going to put the 2 legs together. And I'm going to go to Set Ops and get a union. Because then I can put a color around them. Both. So I'm going to make my legs yellow. Oh, wait. Are the legs blue? The legs are blue. Let's get a blue block. I think that's a slightly different blue. I think I picked this one before. And render it. Perfect. So now my minion looks like that. I'm going to continue to organize my code. I'm going to add a comment. I'm going to call this legs. Close it and collapse it. And now my minion, or my beginning of my minion, is finished, and that's what we are doing today for class.